Bears at Giants, Sunday Night Football. Marco, what should bettors be looking at?
Absolute horrible scheduling spot for the Chicago Bears this week. And this,
give us the details on that.
well, they're playing off of a Monday night football game. Playing off a Monday night game and coming back on Sunday is always a disadvantage to start with. Now you look at the type of game that they played. They played against division rival, tied, both teams were undefeated. Chicago Bears played Green Bay for what everybody, most of the talking heads agree, and I'm one of them, that the Green Bay Packers were the best team, one of the best teams in the NFC.
I was just listening to Mike Lombardi, he works for NFL.com. I think he's one of the sharpest NFL guys. He said that he thinks Green Bay beat Chicago 9 out of 10 times after watching that game. So Chicago, tough game, lucky win. Go ahead.
Now they're going on the road. We said all the scheduling, but there's also another way to handicap games when I say it's a bad scheduling spot. This is the least meaningful game on team schedule. There's home games, always important. There's division games, very, very important. And then there's the least important, the road non-division game.
Okay, so that's an interesting point. So tough scheduling spot and potentially, and now 3-0, there's a sense of a little bit of a cushion, potentially a lack of motivation.
Absolutely. Now, you flip that around to the New York Giants, you got a wounded bear here. You know, they've got to protect themselves. They're sitting at 1-2. The last time they played on prime time was 2 weeks ago. They played on Sunday Night Football. The Manning brothers went head-to-head, and the Giants got taken out behind the woodshed and got an old-fashioned whooping. Very embarrassing game. They come back home and get beat by Tennessee last week. Their only win was against Carolina, and right now, in my opinion, Carolina's the worst team in football at this juncture after 3 weeks. They need a win here or their season's spiraling out of control.
All right, so this is good, succinct information. And really the only reason not to play the Giants here, it would seem, is if you think they're just a horrible team. So let me make 2 points that maybe they are, and then 1 point that maybe they're not. This is a team that's supposed to win up front, the Giants. I mean, Eli Manning is not, I'm not sure about the ESPN type radio listeners who don't really get it. Eli Manning's not a top 7 or 8 quarterback in the league. He's average, a little above average. Give him credit to win a Super Bowl for sure. Not going to carry a team. 14 games the Giants have had without a 100-yard rusher. This is a team that's supposed to win up front. Number two, they're 4-10 straight up since their early season strong start last year. 4-10. So this isn't a bad streak. This is multiple seasons. My question about this Giants team is if they didn't win that Super Bowl 2 years ago, and people are forgetting the fact that they were a wild card team, had to win 3 road games. They could have easily lost that Green Bay game. I remember that game specifically. Hey, they did a heck of a job to beat the Pats. Give them a ton of credit. But they could have easily not won that Super Bowl. If they didn't, would we be looking at this Giants team totally differently, as in, hey, they made the playoffs a couple years ago. They started hot last year. Now they're 4-10. They're an average team. So really, how good is it in your power rankings? How good is this Giants team?
Well, straight power rankings, they're not a good team. But that's one of the things about the NFL and handicapping. We got to handicap the ebb and flow and motivation, highs and lows. And
so Giants make the playoffs, yes or no?
No.
Okay. All right. And you're right, it's too easy to say, oh my God, San Fran's got to win. I mean, there's all kinds, last week against KC and they get blown out. If it was just picking the best teams, it'd be easy. Go to the ESPN Power Rankings. Steelers, by the way, #1 this week. Go to the ESPN Power Rankings and then pick those top 5 teams. The question is, what's the spot? I think Houston, I was wrong. I really liked Houston last week. Houston was in a tough spot. Dallas was in a must-win, and Dallas won the game pretty convincingly. So it's not. I think Houston's the better team if they played 100 times. You're saying you might. I mean, do you think Chicago's the better team?
This is one of those games where, like you said when we started the Bears in Green Bay, that if Green Bay played that game 10 times, they probably win 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
If these two teams play 10 times...
Neutral, no scheduling, who's the better team?
Chicago's probably going to win 6 out of 10, maybe 7. but we're talking about one game Sunday, and
All right.
with all the circumstances, I'm going to go ahead and make the Giants get the win by 7.
All right, so give us your official projection.
31-24. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. This might be one of those correlated parlay deals. Part of my thing is that Chicago's not going to have the intensity that they had
Which
last week.
shows up more on defense.
You've been listening to me, haven't you? Exactly.
I
that's
listen
my
to you
point.
about buffets and handicapping. Not poker. All right, last comment, and then we'll move on. Giants have had 10 turnovers in 3 games. There's a lot of systems out there, sophisticated systems, where after a couple games, 3, 4, 5 games in the season, you fade the teams that have the best plus turnover margin, and you actually back the teams with the worst, because the theory is turnovers are going to even out somewhat, and the team's performance is so affected by turnovers that they're under. In fact, when you have, in this case, a lot of turnovers, they're going to be underrated because of it, which I actually tend to like those systems unless you have a specific reason to think the turnovers are going to reoccur, like a really bad quarterback, et cetera, which really Eli Manning is not that bad. Any closing comments?
Should be a highly entertaining game with a lot of points.
Now it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with me and Marco. And next up, we're going to wrap up the week with Monday Night Football.